start the show now, if that's okay with you guys.
Go ahead, let's go.
Welcome to Recommended Daily Dose. I am your host, Dr. Clenton Coleman, along with my colleague, Dr. Suraj Saggar.
Good afternoon. What's up?
Now, you know what a mogul is, right?
I know what a mogul is. I've never met a mogul. That's
Okay,
the
I think we may have to have
Y'all
a translator because he doesn't speak mogul talk. I speak mogul talk.
Yeah, what up, baby boy? You already know this. Let's go.
Are we in the presence of a mogul?
We are in presence of a mogul. We have Tony Shellman in the building.
What up? How y'all doing today?
He is a fashion and cultural trendsetter. Did I say that right?
I don't know about all that, but I'll take it.
Up until now,
I'll take a little something.
Up until now, Clinton was claiming to be that, but we knew that was false. So it's about time.
I'm a trendsetter.
I
started the wave of socks in the hospital.
Debatable.
He was wearing
very
the brown, church socks.
Got to start somewhere.
Let me give you some stats on Tony. Tony is the vice president of operations at SL USA Productions. SLUSA.
Yeah.
Senior event director at Agenda.
Yes.
But he's also the founder and former creative director of Hype UK.
Yep.
Parish Nation.
Well, Hype UK US.
Okay, excuse me. Sorry.
So it's just the US piece of it.
Okay.
My brothers out in the UK, don't let me take their credit. They killed it.
So just the U.S. as if that was not a big deal. Okay.
And Enyce, which is was a big deal.
Pretty big.
He sold to Liz Claiborne for some change, right, to the tune of $114 million.
Yeah,
ching.
A little something, just a little something. We did all right.
And my personal favorite, which I grew up wearing, and I didn't know that you were the founder of it, but Mecca.
Oh yeah.
I had a Mecca shirt. I had a whole Mecca wardrobe.
Mecca was like the first project ever. Mecca was the first project. It was a great project. It was interesting. It was fun. We're blessed to get to do that.
And that was sold for a little bit.
You wore Vans when you were a kid.
Vans, come on.
There you go. See?
Those two.
Vans.
That's why I laugh when you talk about that, because Vans is a research.
Yeah, it is. See, it's good stuff.
But welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
New year,
gentlemen.
new venue, and we're starting off right, huh?
That's right.
It's fantastic.
But this is a health podcast, so we're going to try to tie it back into...
That's why I want to do it, because I live a healthier life than I used to live.
Oh, but that's the key, though, healthier versus what may have been in the beginning. So just tell us whatever you want to talk about.
Because you were in the entertainment circles for a long time. So
yes.
Give us some stories without incriminating yourself or anybody else about
it's all
the lifestyle.
It's all incriminating. I mean, here's the thing, man. The health, now it's health, wealth, and wisdom. Growing up in the business, when I was doing it, it was all about wealth.
Right.
Wisdom came if you were lucky.
Right.
I'm not sure if I still got some of that.
Or if an OG was telling you what to do.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the difference is when OGs told you, you listened.
Right.
But, again, they didn't come from that. They came from wealth and wisdom. So they were busy making money, moving and shaking, and make it do what it do, as we would say. So health just wasn't part of the game like it is today. There wasn't like, okay, you should only eat this. Think about your cholesterol. Think about your calories intake and what you output. Sports for us were like, you ran hoop on the weekends. Right. Every once in a while, you play. I was a golfer since I was young, so you played golf, but that didn't count.
How's your golf game now?
Oh, trash.
Okay.
How about this?
That makes two of you.
Let's just make this for the record. I've yet to beat Dr. Clinton. Let's just make that for the record.
Not true.
I haven't beat you. I get to the end. We get right to the end, and we get to the last 3 holes, and I end up giving it all back.
Okay, true
story. That's all. I can admit it, but that's not for the 2020. He got something coming in the 2020.
Okay,
Dr. Clinton.
You've been working on it.
Been working on it a little bit. But
I want to hear about this wisdom, because it sounds to me like this comes through time.
What you did was, the way it looked is you truly worked all night, all day, and you partied all night and all day.
Which is part of the business.
Yeah, so the business was from Sunday to Thursday, and Friday you may have some meetings, but then the weekends were for the Bridge and Tunnel kids. And we left that alone. We didn't mess with that. So the weekends, you were like, you might catch a brunch and lose your mind at brunch in Brooklyn, because we all lived in Brooklyn at the time. And that was what the weekends were for. Going out was for the weekend for those the kids that didn't get down like that. But the weekday, man, it was brutal, because you would go in to work at 9:30, 10. That was the work hours.
Right.
You wouldn't leave the office. You were moving and shaking at least till 8:30, 9. That was the work hours.
But you didn't feel it while you were doing it. I mean,
nah. Then maybe you hit the gym, maybe.
Right.
Or you go hoop or something.
Right.
And then from there, go grab a meal. You go bang up Mr. Child's, Philippe's, whatever. You know,
you have to tell him what those places are.
Mr. Chow's is a restaurant.
It's a restaurant. I've been around.
Philippe's.
I've been around town, so I know.
You know,
what's up.
I don't think Serafina's was still around. We bang up Serafina's, but you know, you just go eat healthy, unhealthy, healthy food, like good food, but you're just. I mean,
but let's take it back a second because you're talking about the entertainment industry, but I feel like this is something that can be extrapolated to anyone listening out there because we live in a go-go society. We live in the New York metro. You have people out there in finance.
Sure.
Top of their game.
Yeah.
Medicine, engineers,
Law,
academics, law,
all that.
anything, right? But
you name it.
Doesn't matter what you're in. It's the same idea of having to be on the go all the time. And maybe when you're younger, thinking, you know what, I have the rest of my life to figure out the health and the wisdom. Let me just work hard and elevate my game and elevate my career.
Well, there's a difference between then and now.
Right.
So go now is you get it. You got information in front of you. You know, the speed of information's there.
Right.
You know, when we were doing it, that information wasn't so readily
available.
In front of you.
Right.
You know, and available. So you did what you did, whether you were like, again, if you were a doctor, this, that.
Right.
You still were constantly grinding and let me go, you know, let me grab some Chinese food. You're sitting up there. I mean, come on, I can't begin to tell you how many shoots. If I was getting it catered by whatever from Evelyn's Kitchen or Sylvia's or whoever, the shoot would get catered. You know, the first thing in a morning shoot, you do a shoot. You can't have a shoot without Krispy Kreme donuts. I mean, those are terrible for you, but you got to have them. They just for the optics of having something cool on the set in the morning.
Right.
Krispy Kremes was like having on red bottoms. They were
Especially
cool.
when they're warm with a glass of milk. Ooh.
Come on, man.
Nice.
I had one of my creative directors make a neon sign that said "hot." Just for staff only, for just fucking with people. But excuse my language.
So the cold ones are for everybody else. With the hot
but the point is that you have a ton of food from bagels, you name it.
Right. But you had to live up to that lifestyle. Or just
right. That's the difference. Is like you were eating great food and in abundance.
Right.
You know, you were eating an amazing meal for lunch. You know, let's go to Barolo's downtown in Soho and have lunch at Barolo's. So you're sitting there like this. And, back then, the itis was the itis. It wasn't because you didn't realize you ate too much and your digestive system can't digest it, so it's making you tired because it's trying to burn up all those. Right. You didn't know that back then.
No, right.
Yeah.
So at what point did that switch? Like, because you were in a lifestyle with, eating, running around, doing crazy stuff, partying. At what point, switched for you?
Well, for me, where it switched, it really switched at the age, wow, how was I? I was 39 when I really.
That was a few years ago, right?
30, yeah, some time ago. Sometime like about a month or two ago.
We don't need specifics.
True.
We can just give general terms.
I went. This will have you cracking up. I went swimming with my dad one day. I was in Seattle going swimming with my dad, and we were at my house on the lake swimming out in the lake. The lake is fresh water.
Right.
Lake Washington's fresh water, so it's not like you're swimming in the ocean, so you get a little cheat from the salt water keeps you up. Fresh water,
buoyancy,
you're like you either swim or you sink.
You drop like a rock in.
So we were swimming back to the dock, and I was so tired because I hadn't been swimming. I was so tired. Then, like a day or so later, we went and swam. He's like, "I'm gonna swim 2 miles. Why don't you just swim a mile today?"
And it's your dad telling you this.
Right. I'm like, what? I'm gonna swim 2 miles. I could barely get a mile in on the swim. So that's when it really started to hit me, and I was like, okay, this is terrible. This is really.
So that was your awakening.
That was my wake up call, and I didn't realize I was a skinny fat person.
Just to back it up, you can say
it.
I'll tell you why. We tell our patients.
It used to be. We had to find old pictures. He used to be skinny fat.
Yeah, skinny fat. You don't really show it. Except
I'm not sure that's actually
slim
true.
Thick. You were slim thick.
in your gut, and so now I'm just thick.
We're not talking about your Tinder profile now.
Okay.
Come on,
Tinder.
Yeah, exactly. No, but we talk about it to our patients all the time. If you're heavy, doesn't mean necessarily you're unhealthy, and just because you're thin doesn't mean you're healthy.
Correct.
It has to also do with the fat. We talk about things like if you're central obesity, means if you have like skinny arms and legs, but a fat central part, that's actually unhealthy.
Waist circumference and metabolic syndrome.
Yeah, so we've talked about it before, but you can't just look upon how someone looks.
So when you start I start looking back at everything. I start looking, wow, okay, I drink pretty much every other day, if not every day. I partake in a lot of stuff.
Right.
Which
is standard for the industry you're in.
Yeah. There's nothing like a good old backwood.
Right. But people would look at you funny at the party if you weren't partaking.
it was so much that. It's just what we did.
Right.
It wasn't even look at you funny,
normal.
but, you know, there's...
It was normal.
You know, am I rolling it or are you going to roll it?
Right, right. So at what point did you...
Just saying. Not trying to get Backwoods a shout out for a free shout out. They should pay for that, but shout out to Backwoods.
Sponsored by?
Sponsored by.
So at what point did you start getting into like the running and all that stuff?
Now you're speaking my language.
So he's a runner.
Yeah, okay, so there you go. So, you know,
as you know, Clinton's a jazzerciser.
Yeah, I ran. I was athletic in high school, but nothing where I was competitive. I ran track, and that was because the tennis team, because I couldn't play tennis anymore for whatever. I hurt my arm, so I ran track that year. No big deal. You know, on the track team, you know, I was blazing them up every race. I came in at least 5th or 6th. I was close.
Wow.
I mean, I would get dusted.
Okay.
But it was fun,
All
right? But it wasn't until then, till I got older. And again, I stay athletic, so sports, I just love it. A friend of mine was like, yo, I'm gonna do this New York triathlon thing.
There we go.
I was like, a triathlon, what's that? You know, swim, bike, run.
Right.
I said, so you have to swim, bike, and run all within the same event? I'm like, how the hell are you going to do all that? So
what is that about?
It's the same day.
I was a member at the time at Chelsea Piers.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, same guy that Malcolm that trains John Legend. Malcolm was like, I'll train you for a little while.
Okay.
Malcolm, what's his name? God, not Vince, but not Fritz, but starts with F. I can't think of his name. But a bunch of great trainers at Chelsea Piers at the time. Wonderful dudes. All right, Tony. Man, those first 3 training sessions, I almost passed out, man. But once I got it and learned, and you know, they did me with the baby steps.
Right. Crawling before you walking.
Once I got that, then, you know, I had a guy that just trained me for triathlon stuff only. So swim, bike, run, training.
So then you caught the bug, and then.
And once I caught the bug, it was on, man. It was on. So.
But were you doing triathlons, or were you doing mostly runnings after that?
No, well, I did. So far, I've got about 10 triathlons under my belt. And you know, don't get me wrong. Let's not, for other listeners, Olympic, and I've done 2 half irons. So
right,
2
you
half
have to explain that to me, because
so Olympic is a mile. What's Olympic? A mile swim.
Okay.
A 10K run. That's 6.
Okay.
And what's the bike? The bike is, what is the bike? 27.
All right.
27 miles is a bike.
So that's the full Olympic triathlon.
Yeah, that's a full Olympic. So that's Olympic. And then you have half iron, which is 50 mile on the bike. The run is half marathon, and
so
13.1,
right?
And the swim, I want to say, is 1.5. And so that's a half. That's a half.
It's only a half.
Half. That's a half. That's a half. What they call a half iron. So I've never done an Ironman, nor do I have the time to train for it or would want to do it.
Right. As you mentioned, the half marathon. That's mostly what I run.
Well, I run those all the time.
Yeah, but those are much more palatable and easier to train for than a full marathon. That's actually becoming increasing in popularity and probably perhaps even marathons. Right? It's accessible to more people.
Well, we're talking about running. So on the running piece, I always tell people.
I'm going to sit this conversation out.
In the running piece, I tell people, train for a marathon. It's easy.
Right.
You know, because the trick.
You got a schedule and you follow the schedule.
The trick is schedule. Just follow the schedule.
Right.
Follow the schedule, but you need a lot of time. Those long runs.
Yeah, but it's not really. Because if you follow the schedule. Okay, so let's talk about when I first decided to do the first New York Marathon. I've done it twice.
Yeah.
So when I first did it, I was in top shape. I'd come off the triathlons. I'd weighed $170. That's
your fighting weight.
A little too skinny for me actually, but I was just and I was lifting, so I was like I could bite them off no problem.
Right.
So I was running sub 7s.
Oof.
I was running sub 7s, and
that's the pace, Clinton.
You know,
that's good.
That's a crazy
good.
pace.
That's very good.
But you know, for the marathon, after training, I had to learn to discipline. I had no discipline. So my marathon time came in at, when I was done running the marathon, which is crazy, I finished barely under 5 because I didn't know how to run it.
So you started off too fast?
Of course.
And then you just, you hit the wall, which is real, by the way.
Not only did I hit the wall, but I hit the wall mad early, was getting different cramps, didn't hydrate, just too much excitement. But the second time, I cleaned it up. Right. I cleaned it up the second time. But my whole thing is, it's just about, it's like anything, I believe it's like anything in life. If you take baby steps,
right,
you really can do it. Like, and I'm not going to take credit for this guy's work, but, I've been reading the book and going back and forth, The Atomic Habit.
Okay.
And it's just like anything, the 2-minute drill they talk about, go read for only 2 minutes. Go run for only 2 minutes. Put it down, pick it up the next day, 2 minutes. Trust me, you'll be...
So the idea is just getting the habit of doing it every day.
Habit.
But it's something about something about running that I don't understand, that you two guys are like exhilarated. You guys are like having like a moment, like a passionate moment about it.
Well, you have to, with running, you have to be patient.
But there's an addiction to it, though,
I would
right?
say it's that runner's high, though. We all seek it. And it's real. And people will say, what are you talking about? Once you've experienced it.
So when you're wearing your Lululemon tights and you're running.
It's euphoria, baby.
And the headband and all that stuff.
I'll make it funny for you. It wasn't until I started running. Because when they were like, okay, the triathlon, the running part is you train for it and you don't think about it.
Right.
You're like, okay, I'm going to train for it. Right. Go for the run. You get off the bike. Usually you're doing 2... once you get going in the training, you start to do double duty on the training, which is I'll go swim a 1.5 miles, 2 miles in the pool. I'll get out the pool immediately and ride the bike for 2 hours. Or I'll ride the bike for 2 hours and then get off the bike and go run for an hour.
Right.
So that was cool. So I didn't really pay attention to it. It's when I had to just only run.
Then you
when I had
in the moment. Yeah.
That's when I was like, ooh, wait a minute. And then next thing you know, I start peeling off. I could peel off a 3-minute. I could pull off. And so I'm older now.
Right.
So I'm no longer peeling off those sub-6, sub-7s. I was happy to get sub-8s, but peeling off a sub-8, and then peeling off a sub-8, and then peeling off 6 miles under 8.
Right.
That's when it gets fun. That's when you're like, choo, 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 choo. And then you start looking at your splits and stuff like that.
Right.
That's when it becomes fun, and it's healthy. So you burn it up. And the trick is, how much time can you be on your feet?
Right. So, but as exercise, do you need to do all three? I mean, like you could do anything, but running, we've argued about this, is not a good exercise for you as far as your joints.
I tell people all the time, you have to listen to your body.
Right.
You have to listen to your body, and you have to ask yourself, like anything, what am I trying to do? Are you trying to lose weight?
Right.
Are you trying to build up like your heart rate? Like you told me, you're like, Tony, you have to exercise your heart.
Right.
Your heart has to be exercised.
Yeah, correct.
So you have to take it up, bring it down.
Yep.
Take it up,
right.
Bring it down. That comes from, like, you don't have to constantly be doing cardio.
It doesn't matter what you're doing, right?
Weights will take it up because you breathe heavy.
So if you do a decreased time between sets, you can make an anaerobic workout like lifting weights. Aerobic.
Right.
But just as my, not as bright co-host has said, running, that's a fallacy when people say, oh, it's bad in your joints.
It is.
No, hold on. From where? Who told that? Mama? Your mama told it? Let me.
Wait, don't talk about my mama.
I know.
Wow.
Wow. See, he don't know. He don't know. See, he don't know, right?
A little nutty.
All right.
I'm like, what happened?
He just
When's the last time you saw two doctors fight?
We're ready to get it on because boxing is a good way to work out too. But I will tell you.
What did my mama say?
They have done studies.
What did Mama Coleman say?
If you look at the real evidence,
I love your mama. I love your
mama.
mama.
If you look at real evidence, the repetitive motion and trauma of running on long distance is not necessarily bad in your joints.
Correct.
If you injure yourself and run, that's bad in your joints.
Correct.
So if you bang your foot on concrete,
right,
for 20 years, you think that's okay? So runners don't have knee problems?
You build up your ligaments, you build up your tendons.
How about this? How about this?
Yeah.
How about this? It's like anything, right? I have a ton of friends that are athletes, right? One of my good friends is the athlete, Eric Mecca.
Right.
Right? He said every Sunday and make it to the playoffs, sometimes on Saturdays, it's like getting in a car wreck 5 times during that day.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. He played in the league for 15 years. He's got a different setup than I do.
Right.
I wasn't in the league. I wasn't getting banged up.
Yeah.
I wasn't training off seasons and this and that.
Right.
So I might be a little luckier. It all depends on the person. You can't.
It also depends on how much you do.
So you can't use this. I feel like a lot of people are
blanket statements about.
Well, I call them sound bites. The sound bites.
Or run
Oh,
shaming.
running's going to hurt my... Running, no.
Yeah,
because
that's my big pet peeve. I hear that all the time.
The sound bites, get away from the sound bites and get directly to the individual and then go based off the individual. Like, you guys don't treat your patients all the same. Every single patient...
Well said. Individualized, yeah.
That's all.
That's the big thing about medicine these days.
Oh, you know what? That guy wasn't a runner.
Medicine.
So guess what? All my patients shouldn't be runners.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't think... So my thing is, I always tell people the sound bites. So what works for you?
Right.
And what works for you or works for me will not necessarily always translate.
I'm old school. If you like it, I love it.
I like that.
And how did that change how you eat? And
well,
so I guess you couldn't, in order to run, you had to be in shape and you had to eat correctly.
Right.
Yeah.
So check this out. As I've gotten older, so the diets had to come into play. Whereas before, I've been a skinny person my whole life for the most part.
Right.
So
you didn't have to think about it. You had the high metabolism.
Right. I could burn it off. I could burn it off.
Right.
When I saw it not coming off fast as I thought it should, or when I'd be like, wait a minute, hold up, and I just couldn't get it off for whatever reason, I was like, wow. Then immediately I was fortunate enough to have guys like you, friends, and young ladies that were doctors, people, and they were like, okay, this is what's going on.
Right.
And so what I did was I went and got my body checked.
Right.
So, okay, this is your cholesterol. This is what you're doing. So it probably takes you this much time to burn up this much for you. I don't know about people. Here's the average, and then here's you. I'm like, oh, okay. Excuse me. So I start paying attention to what it was for me.
Right.
And then I start looking at, okay, I don't digest X so good.
Right.
I'm better off with Y. So I start getting a plan that suited me.
Right.
And not the general plan.
It's true. You're talking about your metabolic rate. How quickly you can burn off calories.
Yeah.
And that has to do with how much muscle mass you have. Because the more muscle mass you have, you burn off better. When you run, then your metabolic rate goes up for like 6 to 8 hours after you run. Right. And like you said, with age, as we age, you can't do anything about it. Our rate goes down. So you can't keep eating like a 20-year-old when you're 30, 40, and beyond.
But that mistake is made because when you hear people talk about diets and this and that, when they present that stuff to you, they present that on an average scale, an average age, and blah 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 blah. Right. And you don't really, people aren't really looking at it from the perspective of I'm actually this old,
right? And
I'm eating at this time at night. I'm only eating 3 times a day, and blah 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 blah. I mean, you really got to go get the information, and that's what I've done. That's what's kept me in a good place at this age. And then reality's reality. Went from drinking every day because of social work drinking.
Sure, it's just part of the culture, part of the
culture, part of what we did. The cocktail, and then
this is where deals were made.
I'm down throwing parties in the morning. So my first thing is, hey, let's get a screwdriver. First thing on the golf course, let's get a screwdriver. Let's get this thing rocking.
Right.
So I had to kind of change all that up.
Sure.
And so instead, let me just get a salsa water, and for just.
I'm guessing you're just as much fun with salsa water as with a screwdriver.
Oh yeah,
It's probably way more fun.
We're gonna have a good. I get focused. Yeah. I get focused to make sure the party's going good.
Let's go.
Let's go. So that's one thing now. Is like I'm focused on the eating.
Right.
I'm focused on lifestyle. Like I'm not trying to not have a good time. I went to a friend's birthday party. He threw a surprise party for his wife. It was fabulous.
I was supposed to be there, by the way.
You should have came to that. It was fun.
Man.
So my man's mama.
But what happens when I get invited 2 days before the party?
Yeah,
that's not true.
You got to invite with everybody else.
That's industry.
See?
That's industry.
That is something.
That's industry. You can't take that personal.
Yeah, right.
So your man's mama brings some fried chicken.
Yep.
Oh man, it was amazing. Oh and listen, man, I even took some home after the party.
He did take it all home too. Actually.
He sure did. That was great. But my point is that. So I said, you know what? I knocked down the fried chicken. It was great.
Yeah, because you're having fun, you enjoy it.
Right.
Do you need to eat it Monday to Friday? Probably not.
Exactly. But the next few days, the next week, I knew I had to manage because I had taken that in.
Right.
So I just tried. It's not that drastic, but I manage.
It's moderation, right?
You know what I like, and I tell patients, you're taking ownership of your health. And that's very empowering because when you tell patients and they're just, what to do, they don't want to listen to it, right? Sometimes, or oftentimes, or anyone. But if a patient takes ownership of their own health and starts involved in making their own decisions, like you are, and saying, hey, look, I know I should be doing this. Today I'm going to cheat and have, X, Y, and Z. But then Monday to Friday, I'm going to kind of off balance. It's all about balance. But I like the idea of taking ownership of your health.
But the problem is we want to learn it, know, you don't want to learn it because you're sick or something like that, right?
No, it's true, but that's where the wisdom comes in, because when we're 20,
he learned it because he was about to drown.
Well, not really. Yes and yes, yes and no.
Right,
correct. Right. But to your point, I mean, I hung with you guys a couple of times before this, and you guys said it like it's ongoing every day.
Right.
You guys were great about that, and I took what you guys said to heart, and I was like, I mean, I got these two okay doctors. I got one great doctor and one just.
Exactly.
I
appreciate that.
No.
The tides have turned.
No. But it's real, and I think people really need to take their health a lot more serious and work on it now. And it's like the trick is you don't need to jump off the cliff.
That's true. If you make a drastic change,
you don't need to jump off the cliff.
Right?
So what I've done is like I've taken on the practice of small bites. I will ride that Peloton for 20-minute shots. 20 minutes, boom, off.
Right.
That's it. 20 minutes. I will go run only a mile, 0.1.
Okay.
A mile, 0.1. And then, you know, sometimes I'll run 2, sometimes I'll run 6. It all depends. Now, I'm not going to go peel off 6 if I haven't been running for a month or 2.
Right.
That's just
silly. You pace yourself, yes.
Right, you pace yourself.
Plus, that's an easy way to get injured, right?
Right.
And then get sidelined, right?
And you guys know it's like same thing with your food. You can't just keep on putting bullshit BS in.
Right.
It's my bad.
Don't worry, we can edit it later.
You can't keep on putting BS in and not doing anything about it. And I think the big fallacy is dieting is 85%. And I don't mean dieting. Food is 85%.
Of course.
Right.
But I don't think people understand how serious that is.
So they figure if I just work out hard, I can eat whatever I want.
Nope.
And they may cut it when you're 15, 20, 25, but that's not going to cut it as you get older.
That's not how it works.
And I will tell you, as someone who's tried to stay fit through most of his life, I have realized, you know, I try to stay healthy, but I realize more and more that if you eat healthy, like I said, you can even train less and have better results.
And you also feel better, too.
Right.
And you can look better, right?
What would you tell your 20-year-old self if you walked into the room about, like, how you're living now? Like, what would be the best advice, health-wise?
I would tell my 20-year-old self this. You will pay for it.
Right.
Whatever it is. You will pay for it. So moderation is key.
Yes.
And I would tell my 20-year-old self, and it's so funny because at 20 years old, I was in college.
Yeah.
So we were forced to have a plan.
Well, maybe not 20, right? After 20 when you start working.
Let's just say my 25-year-old self.
Right.
I would tell myself to try to have somewhat of a plan. Especially in this day and age, the information's in front of you.
It's available. You can't feign ignorance.
You know,
right?
and it's so funny because I was kind of blessed a little bit.
Right.
Whereas it never got too out of control because of my habits of eating healthy because my mom was a nutritionist.
Okay. Oh, so that helped.
So
and your athletic
I understood eating salads. I understood not pouring a ton of dressing on that thing.
Right.
Because it just wasted. You're wasting it.
That's the whole point. Yeah.
So I just think if people could kind of get somewhat educated and then do bits and pieces moderate, like you know, eat a salad today and eat 6 meals today, and you don't, just pay attention. That's my biggest thing. I would tell my 20-year-old self to look at what I eat, and if I didn't believe myself, I would just tell myself to write it down. So then at the end of the week, I can look and be like, oh, dang, I did have Chinese food 5 times this week.
Just to know yourself.
Yeah.
So what are you doing now as far as working and everything? Keep us up to date.
My main thing now is it's been fun.
As far as business and stuff.
Business is, just working on the consulting.
Okay.
So, work with different agencies, working with different clients. I have a client, I'm going to work with a client. They're doing a pop-up for the Super Bowl.
Okay.
So I'm going to work on that.
So you get to go to the Super Bowl?
Pop-up for All-Star.
Okay. So we going?
On that. You in there like swimwear.
Okay, cool.
Let's go.
All right.
So play a little golf.
You don't even have to take him,
play a little golf while I'm down there since we're down in the warm weather. So that's my main thing is also too is work-life balance.
Right.
So the consulting allows me to spend more time with my baby who's 11 months, which is great.
Congratulations.
And then
Beautiful.
my wife, who is brand new but been with me for a minute.
Okay.
My wonderful son, and we have a great relationship, so it's wonderful. And my son's mom handles her business, so I'm just very blessed to have a unit of friends and family and community.
Circle. Yeah.
So I think
you have your priorities aligned.
But watch this though.
Yeah.
You got to work on that. I feel like
that doesn't come organically all the time.
No, and Doc, you've helped me with this one. Is that not like I had to fix something that I broke or something?
Right.
But we just sat down and had a conversation, and you were like, your biggest thing is, and you kind of assuming, Doc, I'm pretty sure you're the same as well. You say family first, but you telling me, as another man telling me family first, really makes me really think about it and look at it.
Right.
And I think, you know, as doctors sat down with both of you guys, and you both said family first, and I like the way you guys not only practice medicine, but you guys practice family.
Right.
And I think that's incredible, and that's what a lot of young men and women need to understand. What does your family look like? And family doesn't necessarily mean blood relatives.
Correct.
Family means how are you taking care of the people around you
that you care about.
Right.
That you love and they love you. I like that.
Right. And how are you taking care of them? And not giving to receive, but just being a part of that village. And that's been my thing, you know. I'm fortunate enough to be part of a really good village, you know. You know, some of the people that work on this show have been a really good village to me. And I'm blessed and thankful for that.
I can sense that vibe as soon as you
day,
walked
baby.
in.
Like,
I can
it's
sense
like,
that. Yeah,
it's like, woo, woo. I love it, baby. I love it. I wouldn't do nothing. I wouldn't handle nothing without my village.
Tony's a wise man.
I'm a weirdo.
So we have a.
But you know that wisdom comes with age. It comes with living a life full of experience, I think.
Yeah.
All right, we're just going to wrap it up, though. We have some rapid fire questions for you.
Let's go. Let's go.
What's your favorite medical show of all time? Do you watch medical dramas?
Yeah, my favorite medical show is this now.
No, I'm talking about on TV. On TV,
we do appreciate that. We do appreciate that.
What's that new? Is it the New Amsterdam joint?
New Amsterdam, that's right.
Yeah, that joint is hot because you know it's about new medicine, doing it differently.
That's right.
Because I'm a big fan of. I was, and I'll bring this part. Oh, God bless her soul. My mom was a big fan of taking responsibility for us and me.
Right.
And I say me specifically because I grew up with a million different learning disabilities, dyslexia.
Dyslexia, yeah.
Excuse me.
Sure.
ADHD. It was real for me, right? But my mom wasn't trying to hear that. My mom wasn't like, here's a bunch of medicine. My mom was like, look, we're going to eat better. Right. These carrots and all this is going to really help you out. You're going to get more rest. You're going to exercise. You're going to do these type of games and stuff like that to build everything up. Right. I pretty much got through everything, no problem, graduated college, all that because of better stuff. So the New Amsterdam show, bringing it back to that, is just kind of really keeping it raw and doing it different. And I hate when it's the general, you'll be all right. Just do this to your arm and you'll be fine. No, something's really wrong with my arm. Maybe a little bit different. I need you to get really focused on what's going on here. So that's why that show.
It has that compassion to it. Our favorite show is Scrubs for, you know.
Well, Scrubs, that's the old school joint.
I feel like it could have been the story of you and I. You know,
you guys definitely could have been on Scrubs.
Walking around,
you're getting weird now.
Yeah.
All right,
that's kind of when I see you guys. When I think, I'm like, wow. Woo.
If you were to be any kind of doctor, what kind of doctor would you be?
If I could be any kind of doctor, what kind of doctor I would be?
And love doctor is perfectly acceptable.
No. I would be.
Perfect acceptable answer.
I would be. What is it? What's wrong with me for kids?
Pediatrician.
Yeah, I'd be a pediatrician.
You like kids?
Love kids, but I think kids need direction.
Right.
And I was fortunate again to have a great doctor. Gave my parents great direction.
No, that's great. Yeah.
Gave myself great direction. I had the same doctor from when I was 5 all the way up till I was 19.
Right.
It's funny. You remember your pediatricians growing up, right?
I mean, like I stayed. My pediatrician.
100%.
My pediatrician was my doctor. Stayed my doctor like.
Right.
And she did not. You know, it was kind of goofy when I got a little older, and she's like, "Yeah, turn around." I'm like, "Oh, let me check."
Cough, Tony.
Yeah, I'm like, because
she's known you your whole life.
She's known me my whole life.
And mine was also a she.
But my mom laughed at. My mom used to laugh.
But everyone usually, if they're fortunate enough to have a great relationship with their pediatrician, they remember for life because they've influenced them, shaped them in so many ways.
I mean, she's the one that kept me safe. That's why I got no extra babies laying around. She was
that we know of.
You know the rules, baby. That we know of. Correct.
Right.
True story.
You heard it here first.
Go ahead. Sorry. My bad.
That was it.
That's the one rapid question? No.
2. I asked you 2.
That was 2. Okay.
You got any more?
Any more? You got to
I think that's it. Tony's a busy guy.
Tony is busy. He fit us in today, though. We appreciate that.
No, first things first. Let me just get this
Don't
clear.
even.
You don't have to.
I'm working on this. I'm working on my time thing. But, hey, you know what, guys? I think it's great what you guys are doing. You guys are putting out great information on the show. I'm a fan of the show. I've heard it a bunch of times, and like you said, you guys do your thing. And it's like, you know, like Mama says, you know, The proof is in the pudding, and it's right here, baby. Let's
Mama
go.
Coleman.
I love how it all comes back to Mama. This is a new theme. We usually try to do Coming to America or some Friday references, but you know, little Mama.
All right.
Again, if you're lucky to have a mama like mine, Clinton knows. I know his mama.
I think all three of them.
I'm pretty sure your mama's
We
just
all
the same.
are very lucky.
Yeah.
We should all get our mamas together. Come on the show.
Yeah.
Or a wife episode.
Yeah, watch out.
No, we don't want to do
Wives,
that. We don't want
let's
to do
get
that.
the wives on here.
Nah.
Baby, it wasn't me. I didn't do that. But yes, guys,
Tony, thank
having
you
me.
so much for taking time out of your busy day to come on.
Yeah, no doubt.
Our inaugural podcast, here in a new venue. If you like what you listened and you heard, find us on Spotify and iTunes. Rate and subscribe on Holy Name /recommend Daily Dose. Until next time, I am your host, Dr. Suraj Saggar, along
Dr. Clenton Coleman, but don't say it.
Don't say it.
Don't say it.
Everyone wants to hear me say it.
Okay.
Until next time, be well.
All right.
Hey.